Who hasn't experienced this before? You're on your way to your new job when boom! Your ship hits rocks, and later you wake up as an amnesiac fisherman. The people around you all seem to be a bit weird, and some of the fish you catch have grotesque shapes. Just another day, right? I'm Lile, welcome to Lile's Indie Corner. It's time to set sail in Dredge. Dredge is an Eldritch horror fishing game developed by Black Salt Games and published by Team 17. It was released on March 30th, 2023 for PC, Mac and Linux, Nintendo Switch, PlayStations 4 and 5, Xbox One and Series X and S. In it, you play as a shipwrecked fisherman trying to make a living by catching what the sea is willing to give. But you soon learn that there is something darker happening to the people and the fish. At first glance, Dredge seems rather simplistic. The hand-drawn art style feels like something out of a children's book, with some fun, maybe a little desaturated colors that make for really beautiful scenery. The sea especially looks so inviting and like it was just made to sail around in it with your cute little boat. The first town is so quaint with its traditional lighthouse in red and white. It's a place you'd go to vacation in, until you realize that this understated color palette, like the art style itself, has layers to it. Under the simplistic first impression, there's some gorgeously drawn character and fish portraits, and the animations for the boat and the sea make this much more complex than you'd think. There's always something happening on your screen, always something that draws your eye and that makes you appreciate the work that was put into this game. There are 5 distinct areas on this map, and every single one comes with its own style and gives you something new to gawk at, while keeping a cohesive art direction throughout. My personal favorite is Stellar Basin. I was especially blown away by how good the sea itself looks, and how good it feels. It combines the hand-drawn art and the animations in a way that really makes you feel like you're this tiny little boat on a vast ocean. Amazing work! But that's not all. Because the beauty and the calm only last as long as the sun is up. Once it gets dark, this beautiful game turns into something much more sinister. The colors change, get more dull and less inviting. The gorgeous ocean is suddenly scary, and you become aware of its incredible depth that could swallow you whole. Instead of the vast blue, it's now black and endless. Only the twinkling lights of the settlements promise some respite. But be aware, not every light is as friendly as it first seems. The switch of night and day in the game is astonishing. It really changes the vibe completely. You go from this calm, fun fishing game to this dark and creepy flight to the next harbor. I loved it. I had chills so many times when the sun went down and I found myself alone on the ocean hoping that nothing would come for me. I wasn't always that lucky. Animations are super smooth, and sailing on the sea is an absolute joy. The waves seem just right, and the movement of the boat is always affected by it. Like in real life. I didn't even encounter any glitches. Quality testing must have been a really high priority for these guys. This game really has 2 sides, and Black Salt Games manages to weave them together beautifully. The character and fish portraits already give you a bit of a taste of that. Because while you start with this beautiful vista of a quaint little island village, the mayor, the first character you meet, already gives off this weird vibe. Pretty much all of the characters do. They are drawn in a way that makes them look untrustworthy, at least in my opinion. That goes for the fish too. They all just seem to stare at you, making you just slightly uncomfortable. That feeling then quadruples once you catch your first aberration. Fish that have been twisted by something dark and unexplainable. Just really creepy. But the people seem to like them? And there are also many more secrets to be explored and bigger creatures to encounter. It really baffles me how they managed to bring about the Eldritch horror vibe so well. I don't play many horror games, so my knowledge isn't that vast when it comes to playing one, but this really gets under your skin. And the art isn't the only thing that makes you feel uneasy. A good horror game lives and dies by how well it can unsettle you. Sound design plays a big part in that, and Dredge has a whole plethora of sounds to make you uneasy. Again, we have these 2 sides. On the one hand, you have the sea and the seaside, your little village where it all sounds perfectly normal, and a bit like you're on vacation in a forgotten part of the world. Sailing is a lot of fun, not only because of the great art direction, but also because it sounds right. waves crashing against your little boat, some seagulls overhead when you come close to shore, and the occasional screeching of dolphins who swim alongside you for a while. It's also calming and friendly. But then you have the other sounds. The little off-key jingle that plays every time you catch an aberration, or the foghorn you can hear in the distance that suddenly turns into something different. Seriously though, that foghorn made me go running like the devil was behind me, and you should too. Trust me on this. Dredge does this balancing act perfectly. Never does it feel overdone in its horror, and never does it get too boring with the quote-unquote normal stuff either. It keeps you on your toes and never quite lets you forget that this is all not as friendly as it seems in the daylight. Like with the art, the 5 unique map areas are also defined by their sound design. You have the quaint town, but also the swamps or the volcano. All have their own soundscapes that are never too intrusive. You just subconsciously realize that you've crossed some invisible border from one area to the next. The music plays a similar role. It can lull you to sleep with its friendly tunes, and it can send shivers down your spine when you encounter something you should have let rest. I'm really in love with the soundtrack for Dredge. It just has everything. Your fun sailor tunes, including an accordion, your creepy songs that make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Sometimes a song that you already knew gets out of tune and you don't know why. You got the main theme that carries such a mystery and sadness with it that you don't quite understand until you start piecing together what has really happened to our poor little fisherman. It also has variations of this theme that give some extra meaning to scenes you might not even consider at first. I love it when music does this and when it's used to enhance the storytelling. An all-around joy that I have been listening to ever since I started playing. And that I'm also listening to right now, writing this script. I sure hope the foreboding music isn't a bad omen for me. Quick shout out to my awesome editor, the Potato Witch. Go check out their review of Live by the Sword Tactics, and do it now! Unsurprisingly, your main objective in this game is catching fish. For that, you sail your boat to a fishing spot and start fishing. There are several mini-games depending on what kind of fish you're trying to catch, but they are all very similar. It all consists of press X at the right time. To be honest, I could have done with a bit more variety here. While it was fun throughout my 10-hour playthrough, I longed for a different kind of challenge every so often. Once you have the fish, you get to play a bit of inventory Tetris to really get the best out of your haul. The more fish you can store, the more money you will make. And time is also a valuable commodity in Dredge. Whenever you're roaming around on the boat, which is the only way to go about by the way, you never leave it, time passes. When you fish, time passes. Whenever you do any activity, time passes. Each day consists of maybe 5 to 10 real-life minutes, and then you're starting over. So if you're looking for a fish that's only available during the daytime, you have to plan a bit, or come back the next day. Likewise, if there's something you gotta do at night, watch the clock. While during the day this is mostly a relaxing experience, the game changes once the sun sets. The ocean becomes much more dangerous, and you better look out for any creatures that might want to take a bite out of you. As is common with Eldritch horror, during the night you have a sanity meter, represented by this helpful eye here that slowly turns red and starts rapidly looking all around the longer you stay awake. And what happens when you lose your sanity? Well, at first you might have some mild hallucinations, maybe some eyes following you, then suddenly there's an obstacle in your way you swear wasn't there before. And what's that? Is that a creature in the water? The nighttime is full of fun surprises that will follow you into your dreams, and you better get some sleep or the visions persist during the day too. I absolutely loved the system. It never got boring and made the night tricky but also fun to explore. With this game having some RPG elements too, you use the money you make to upgrade your ship. Make it more sturdy, get bigger inventory space, and upgrade your engines. Also, you need different fishing rods so you really get the most out of every area. Because if you lack the right equipment, you simply cannot catch certain fish. Dredge Dredge also has a quest system. There was one main quest line which sends you to all 5 areas, and each area has a quest you need to do in order to progress. And then you have several side quests that you can do at your leisure. Exploring is definitely worth it, because there's always some secret to discover or some equipment to find that you can't buy. This is one of my favorite parts of any open world game. This one isn't littered with quest markers or anything else either. You just set a goal and I promise you there's something to find. As a quick note though, if you find one of these hooded figures, make sure you have some time and an empty hold, because these are timed quests. And I failed every single one because I didn't realize it. I really had a ton of fun with the gameplay loop. At the beginning I was missing a bit of direction, but once I figured out the main quest line, I got really into it. Catching fish, scavenging for resources to upgrade my ship, exploring and meeting strange characters was all a ton of fun. And the horror elements just gave it that extra bit of spice that kept me coming back for more. When it comes to the basic setup, there isn't much more than what I already told you. You play an amnesiac fisherman in a strange place on Earth, and you do your best to get by. Where it gets really interesting is once you meet the Collector. He sends you out to get him 5 relics. What does he want with them, or why does he have a book that can give you straight up magic? You don't know, but you sure want to find out. To be honest, I didn't pay the story much mind at first because I thought it was more tacked on than anything else. I expected Dredge to live more off of its vibes than anything else. And then the ending hit and I was completely caught off guard by how intriguing it was, and I wanted to kick my own ass for not paying more attention to it. Because I could have figured out so much more if I had been more invested. Which is why I definitely want to go back and talk to the NPCs more and really get into the messages and bottles you can find all over the place. So my advice to you, if you are into it, there is payoff at the end. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm just going to talk a bit more about how unsettling the character writing is, which fits perfectly into the art and the sound design. At several points you meet characters, might even do some minor quest for them, and then watch while everything turns into an absolute mess. Horror vibes all around. And since Eldritch and Cosmic Horror are my favorite genres, this was an absolute joy for me. It's a more indirect horror. You're often left wondering what the heck even happened without ever getting a real answer. It's the uneasiness of it all, the way it makes you uncomfortable in your skin, while you can't explain why. I just love that kind of stuff. Definitely prefer it over jump scares and gore. I love being creeped out and not necessarily getting scared, even though the game definitely has its jump scares too, but they are well timed and not used in abundance. But yeah, I love a world drenched in Eldritch horror, and the way the game uses it makes me crave more. The way this world just combines art, music and writing is a masterclass in how to make me very uneasy. So thanks, Dredge! What's your favorite fishing minigame? If you're in the mood for something more of this world, why not check out my video on The Wreck? Don't forget everyone, let's be weird together!